Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the revision support event for parents to help support their son or their daughter in Year 11 and Year 13. Our sincere apologies for not being able to hold this as a live event. However, I hope you appreciate that under the current climate, this would be impossible. But actually, I see this as a real positive because now you will get a recording of the information so that you can take your time to work through it and understand what's going on. My name is Mrs. Berridge and I'm the head of psychology at St Bernard's. I absolutely love my subject, but I particularly love sharing my subject with parents and students regarding how best to learn and how to understand how our mind works in order to maximise the revision potential. So the purpose of this event is to support parents in particular to understand how to support their son or their daughter with revision. I'm going to be showing you an example of how to create a usable revision timetable and to introduce a range of useful strategies that can be helpful for any subject and also lead you to some information from particular departments. I also want to cover how to support students with their well-being, in particular regarding to their sleep, study habits and exercise. As within St Bernard's, we like to educate and develop the whole person, and by ignoring the well-being, we're not developing the whole person. And so that is one of the aims of today's information. Now, before we get started, we do have an issue with waiting for the examination boards to give us further instructions regarding advanced information for this year's exams. That is going to be sent to us by the 7th of February. And once schools have received this, we will put together a plan and explain to parents and to students how that will work for each of our departments. So do bear in mind that the information I'm going to give tonight is very general, apply to all subjects, but do also be aware that a number of departments are waiting for that 7th of January before creating a finalised list of revision topics and strategies that they would like students to use. But what should students be doing now, even while we're waiting for the 7th of February? Well, first of all, they need to make sure that their class notes are up to date and they're complete, particularly if there has been absences for any reason. You can go to the subject departments and the class teachers just to make sure that you have everything. You also need to be making sure that you can access Teams and the VLE. Mr. Galton coordinates the use of the VLE and has been asking form tutors to check that students can get access in school and at home. So all students should be able to have access. And I'm going to show you a couple of sites on there. A good thing to do is to be able to know the exam board and the specification for each of the subjects that the son or daughter is taking. This allows the students to make sure they're finding the correct specification online, in particular the correct online papers. They need to be making sure that they understand their timetable when it is released to them and know when and in what order their exams are taking place. In the coming weeks, students will be given a list of their subjects and the entries that they will have. That list will show the subject and the exam board, so that makes point 3 really easy. And in due course, once we have all of that information correct, we will issue timetables. Students also need to make sure that they're understanding the structure of each exam. How many questions will they be asked? How will they be asked? And how much time should they allocate to each question? I teach psychology and I tell my students that they should estimate 1 mark should equal 1 minute of writing. That is a rough guide and is not always the case. Obviously, essays may take a couple or 2 minutes longer. So there is scope, but do talk to each department to find out what works for them. A really useful thing is to make sure that students understand what command words are. Understand exactly what skill is being questioned, because if you can answer the question correctly, you're halfway there. So this is a general list of exam command words that I've come across, but I do know that a number of subjects issue a list of exam command words. So these are 2 examples. I've given my own subject, psychology, and I've also used geography GCSE as an example. Departments will let students know what each of the examination command words are and how best to answer the question. So if the question says compare, they need to be making sure that they give similarities and differences rather than just explaining what 2 topics or what 2 concepts are. So do make sure that you understand the exam command words. What they also need to be doing is working to a revision timetable. A number of students say they don't have to start revising yet, but actually, the more we revise now, the easier, the better the actual examination period will be. So, create a revision timetable and create a revision checklist. I'm going to show you now how to create a revision timetable to support, but a revision checklist I'll explain in a moment. So, what you can do is you can download a revision timetable from the VLE, from the learning community, but I have put an example of that in the Teams files, and I will show you that in a moment. So it sets out what subjects you have each day, but then it fits in Saturday and Sunday. There are alternative ones, and I'm going to just show you how you can use the evening sessions for your time productively. So, first of all, we need to work out how much study time do I actually have. Important things, I need to be making sure that I've got my travel to home so that I block that in, because I may not be able to study on the train or in the car. I then also need to be able to factor in dinner, because we need to be able to make sure that we eat. It might be that I have commitments to dance, and so therefore I need to put in my extracurricular activities. I then need to make sure that I shouldn't be working too late, so I need to have a cut-off time, and I'll be talking to you about sleep later on. Then I need to make sure that I do factor in some rest time. I need to be realistic. I'm not likely to study late in the evening on a Friday or at the weekends, so I want to factor in that rest time. I might want to factor in, and although it's not on here, if I'm not going to get out of bed on a Saturday or a Sunday at 8 in the morning, why put a revision session in there? I need to be realistic. It also might be that my favourite TV show is on a Tuesday evening, so I'm going to put that as a rest time. The rest of the time are left to what subjects I need to do. So if I count up here, I'll have 18, 19 slots, and I need to list what subjects that I have. I need to remember that I'm taking science, but it might be a double science. I need to remember that I'm taking English, but within there, I will have English literature and language because it is worth 2 GCSEs. And therefore, I need to divide my time accordingly, putting in and starting to go through. I've left some blanks in here, so this is where I may want to add in extra time for maths, as that might be the subject I'm struggling in. Or it might be that I need to add some extra PE or food tech, as I've got my PEP coursework or I've got my food coursework that's coming in very soon. It needs to be seen as a working document. Taking a really long time on it at the start and then never sticking to it won't work. I often find that students take about 3 weeks to be able to get the timetable that works for them. If you work best at 7 in the evening, put the subjects that you find challenging. If you want to put a subject on a Monday evening and that's where you're really tired after dance, then that won't work as well. This can then work so that if something happens and it turns out that I have an event or I have some family issue that I might need to deal with on a Thursday, my free time that I have on the Sunday, I can then move my subject to there so I'm not missing out on the time. So it means that I can move around my rest time. I'm not losing rest time, but therefore I'm also not losing study time. So what to do in revision? Now I've got my timetable sorted out. What should I do? When should I do it? How should I revise? So, first of all, we need to be making sure we revise in 3 different stages. I need to prepare. I need to make sure that I have all of my stuff organised. I then need to make sure that I learn the information. I can't answer questions if I don't have that knowledge first. And then I need to test it. It's fine to read through my textbook, my exercise book over and over again, but that's not how I'm going to be tested. So it's really important to factor in those test situations. It is always best to act and carry out a range of different ways to revise. Just sitting on my bed is wrong, but just sitting on my bed reading through the books is not enough. So here I've set out a number of different revision techniques that can be used at each of those different techniques. So step 1 is where I might be creating mind maps, creating flashcards, making sure I have the information I have. Step 2 is where I'll be writing tests, answers, reading through model answers, understanding the restrictions and the techniques needed within the exam. And step 3 is where I'm developing, I'm using the mark schemes, I'm testing each other's, I'm actually even creating my own examination questions. Most students like to stick to step 1 and then not follow it through with step 2 and 3. And the better students, the more efficient students, will actually be carrying out revision under timed condition. Another way that we can do that is to take a break from the writing and the reading. Is a number of departments have actually recommend several YouTube channels that's specific to their specification. These lessons are like what's called webinars. So they're a seminar online and they're led by subject specialists. These are a really good way to consolidate knowledge and to hear the same knowledge that will go on in class from a different perspective in a different forum. Webinars are great because you can pause them, take notes, you can pause them and check. So as an example, RE are sharing the Macmillan Revise for YouTube channel, and the link is here, but they have also put a link in their files. History, use the history teacher, and always need to get mine in. I use the AQA Tutor to You, but I also use PsychBoost as well, that are really helpful. So do check out YouTube channels. They're not just watching videos of cats, so please make sure that, but make sure the YouTubes they spot are great to do. And these are ones that can be listened to and can be followed as I'm travelling to and from school. So therefore, that's not wasted time.